Yeah, calisthenics number 12. Yeah. Fly robotics. Bifocals, my only purpose is to feed the locals. I'm spreading love when I see you and gotta approach you. I see the goodness in you, I wouldn't John Wick you. I know you hustling for your family just to pay the fiscal. I see the God up in you, He bless your physical. While we navigating problems, pay the fiscal. I see the God up in you, bless your physical.
I don't know what's going on, y'all. I don't know what's happening right now. The music just playing for no reason. Let me try to stop this for a second. Technical difficulties. Never happened to me before. 1 second, y'all. I don't know where it's coming from. Okay. There's a second mic going on somewhere. What is that? Y'all hear that echo?
I'm muted, so I don't.
Yeah, I muted everybody, so it's definitely something on my end. I'm trying to figure out what it is, y'all. I'm sorry.
Check behind your browsers. Check behind them. Sometimes I put things up on another browser.
Can you check behind your browser?
Check behind them. Sometimes I put things up on another browser. You have another browser up because it's reverberating. Yeah.
There we go.
Got it?
That is live on another page. My bad, y'all. Hey,
okay.
Welcome back, y'all. Thank y'all for being patient with me. Welcome back to Vulnerabilities and New Sexy. I'm sorry about the little hiccup. We finna roll. We finna have a conversation. And, this week we're diving into something really timely and transformative. We want to try to get beyond the gender wars here and start learning how to uplift each other as Black men and women. There's a lot of podcasts and shows out here that push these narratives that often pit us against each other. And that's really not helpful. It's not really pushing us forward. And, we need to understand how to get up, when the real healing really happens. So today, we're going to sit down, we're going to listen, we're going to speak with intention. And I'm joined by 3 brilliant therapists, Ms. Felice, Britt, HighTower, Jeanni Johnson, and my brother, Dr. Sekou. And you'll learn more about them as the time goes on. No big grand introductions tonight. But let's explore, man. Let's talk about what it truly means to understand each other and how we get into this, how we get out of this little rut that we're in, where we're having conversations that don't matter. Earlier today, we were talking about going 50-50 in relationships. And my take on it was, if you're going 50-50 or you having that conversation about going 50-50 in a relationship, you're already losing, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're already losing. So we behind on the thing. So I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Felice. I'm gonna ask you, what do you think, how do you believe women develop the understanding for what they want in a partner? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
Well, first, we have to see it modeled. And one of the things that we lack in a lot of Black women's homes, and I can't say all, and I'm so encouraged by this new generation and the fathers and the families that are coming out of it. But growing up, most of the people that I grew up with, we were all from broken families. And so, I shared with you on the different podcasts, how I have a history of trauma, and I witnessed trauma. I witnessed domestic violence in my home. And I didn't see my mom and dad interact in a healthy way. So where am I supposed to get that data? Where am I supposed to get that training if I don't see a healthy relationship out the gate? And so it has to be modeled. And if it isn't modeled, then our elders have to come back and impart to us. and educate and teach us how to have healthy relationships. And that's also a big key as to why a lot of Black women don't know how to be. You know, we have some idea of what we want to be, but it's coming from LMN, or it's coming from Hallmark, or it's coming from BET and those crazy shows, you know, about what they think love, romance is about. And so it's not, you know, and then it depends on if you grew up in a spiritual background, you're hopefully trying to do it in a biblical way. But I also think that the church in a lot of ways has failed us in showing us how to be women to our men, and how to be wives, and also bringing the church into the 21st century and having real conversations about the struggles of people trying to have healthy relationships. And so, you know, that's a great question. I think that it has to be modeled.
Yeah.
If you don't see it, you can't be it.
And Jeanni, let me ask you, as you stand here today, the woman that you are, how did you develop your own personal understanding about what you wanted in a partner? I mean, through the years, not the understanding that you have now, but as you were growing up, how was it developed, and how was it made its way to what it is today?
Absolutely. Well, I think, Felice was correct in saying that the initial model that I received came from my parents, came from watching my mother. And then as I grew and grew more comfortable with the other women within my family, was watching, her mother, my grandmother, watching my father's mother, watching my sisters. I have an older sister, and then it became watching friends and understanding friends and their patterns, and then eventually you have your own relationships. Some of us had the luxury of being sort of late bloomers, and so kind of like participating in the relationship situation later on in life, when there maybe was more development or more of a sense of an understanding of our own identities. And I think that is something that is really important in creating space for understanding what you would want to see in someone else, is understanding first who you are. So I think my development, took that trajectory in a way that was a healthy one, that felt, like you're doing the best you can with what you got.
Yeah. As you were talking, and I was about to ask Dr. Sekou a question, I want to follow with you real quick and ask you, and Felice too, how did you develop the understanding of the kind of woman you wanted to be in a partnership?
So
Go ahead, Jeannie, and I'll come back to you, Felice.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I think, so many different spaces to pull from. First off, the reader is the leader. And my entire life, I've been someone who has been fascinated by books, by stories, so all different types of relevant stories that I've read since I was really young. Are your introduction in some ways to womanhood from a cerebral standpoint. But again, I would go to and would never deny the pivotal influence of my mother. She is the epitome of femininity. She is a loving, kind person who is accepting of those flaws, um, recognizes and has insight to those flaws, and has grown, I think, so incredibly, since I was a young person. So I certainly look to her. I dreamed to look like her. I dreamed to speak like her. I dreamed to write like her from a really very young age. I wanted to be my mom. So.
Okay. And Felice, answer that one, please. How did you develop your sense of the kind of partner you wanted to be, or the woman you wanted to be inside of a relationship?
That's a really good question, especially for me.
I do this.
I think it came from my grandmother.
Yeah.
My grandmother was married, but you don't know what you're looking at and what you're seeing if no one's telling you. But their relationship, come years later, they weren't the best either. I didn't see my grandmother interact with my grandfather in a loving way. It was almost like they were roommates.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother was a God-fearing woman, and she loved the Lord. And so she introduced me. She was my introduction to God. And she was also one of the loves of my life. And she she was one of those women, like Sunday was the Sabbath. So she did all her cooking on Saturday and she did all her ironing, and she was the mother of the church. So she would wear her hat. So I'm a hat wearer. So I'm always trying to find the flyest hat to be in a room, because my grandmother wore these beautiful hats that she had made, and she would iron her white gloves. And I wanted to be like her. And I believe, and I always knew that I wanted to make her proud. And so I hope that I'm doing that. And my mom, like, even though my mom wasn't an example of, or showed me an example of how it was to be a wife, my mother showed me how to be resilient. And she showed me how to persevere and to never give up and to follow your dreams no matter what life throws at you. And so it really wasn't, my modeling wasn't necessarily around a relationship with the man. It was mostly about how we survive and thrive in this world as a strong Black woman. And so I had to develop on my own, like what it was I think I wanted to be. I do know that I wanted to be a woman that was respectable. I do know that I wanted to be a woman that held her head up high, that had morals and values. And I wanted to be someone who was intelligent. Education was very important. And so one of the things that my dad did do for me was he introduced me to books. And so, I did know that I wanted to be as educated as I possibly could, as well read as I could possibly be. And in my way, that was the loving kind of thing that my father was able to give to me and show me.
Okay. So not to minimize or summarize what y'all are saying, but what I'm hearing is that a large majority of what you feel or developed and kind of the woman you wanted to become was based on the modeling of the woman before you, and walking into the situation like, okay, I want to be this woman, so I will behave as this woman, and whatever happens with that is going to be what happens with it. So Dr. Sekou, I got to ask you, man, so, both of those same questions. How did you develop your understanding about the kind of man you wanted to be in partnership and the kind of woman you wanted to be with in partnership?
Yeah. So for me, I would say the examples that I had, it really stems back further than my mother meeting my father and growing up. So growing up, I had my grandmother was in my life and my mother was in my life. My mother and father got divorced when I was about 6 years old. But my great grandfather was a veterinarian back in his home country in Georgetown, Guyana. And he was a well-respected type of individual. And just knowing certain things that I knew about him and how he was around town, I was like, man, that dude is sharp. That's the type of individual that I want to be. So someone that is recognized for doing well in his community, and just being just an all-around good-spirited person. So seeing the example of my great grandfather and just hearing stories, and then also just having uncles around me too, because since my father wasn't around when my father and mother got divorced, those are the men that I patterned myself after, because they were respectable, they were married men, they had principle, they stood for something. And then having a wonderful mom that I did have, she had always raised me to be a respectable young man, open doors for ladies, and be that type of person that you would want to be, So when I look at certain things and I think about a partner, and my mom was a very hardworking, ambitious woman, I've always surrounded myself around ambitious, intelligent women that work hard, that they don't mind just getting up and grinding. And I'm like, I can't just be the dude on the couch and my woman's working hard, because that's not going to make me feel like a man. So I had these certain images for me where I was like, dang, okay, I got to be something. I have to. I can't just be average. I got to put in some work. So that's what shaped my frame of mind.
Absolutely, man. Very important. And I just want to say quickly, you know, like my situation is I didn't have any male role models. You know, all I had was bad examples for the most part, at least in partnership. You know, I mean, there's some men that showed up and did other things that, you know, influenced me that were positive, but in partnership, I rarely had any good examples. So what shaped me was my mother coming home. She worked at the Ford plant and she worked 12-hour days and she was tired. She was the breadwinner and she was exhausted and she was often frustrated and angry. So I looked at that situation like I never want to do that to a woman. Also, she was, you know, abused a lot of my life. And then, you know, right in front of my face, physically abused. And then she died when I was 15 years old. So that does something to, you kind of want to save your mother, I guess, so to speak. Traditionally, you just want to save your mother. And I'm saying all of this to say, and I had all y'all go through that because I want to make the point that everybody's lived experience shapes who they are, right? So when you're coming into relationships and you're not understanding why you're not connecting with your partner, it's very important sometimes to understand in a very intense and deep way their lived experience, what shapes them, what makes them who they are, and what develops their beliefs about partnership, and their beliefs about themselves. Because understanding that can reduce conflict inside of a relationship. Just that understanding. Just that understanding. And Felice, I'm gonna come back to you because I want to know not only from a female perspective, but from a therapist perspective, a female therapist, all the things. Why do we often listen to respond instead of to understand?
Well, I know growing up in Brooklyn, if you didn't have any volume, you weren't getting heard. So it's like you had to get in the ring, you know what I mean? Like, or your voice wasn't going to be heard. And so I grew up in an atmosphere where everybody had volume and everybody was trying to get heard. And I don't think anybody cared if they needed to be understood. They just wanted to get heard and get their point across. And I think that's what it is. People believe that if they don't be the first to be able to say what they're going to say, that they're not going to be heard or they're not going to get it out. And I think that is a real issue, that we don't listen for understanding. And it would really solve a lot of problems if we slow down long enough to even want to care. You got to care to want to understand. And it takes patience.
Yeah.
We don't live in a patient society. Everything is microwavable and it's like that. And so it takes patience for you to sit there and drill down for understanding. And people just don't have that kind of time. Yeah. And they don't have that kind of stamina to even want to be in the ring that long. But that's what it takes in order to be able to really hear your partner. And that is the number one thing that I stress with my clients, is that you have got to listen without anything on your mind. Like, you cannot be listening to know what you're going to say next, because you're really not caring. And that's what's relayed. That's the energy that gets transpired, is that you really don't care. Mm-hmm. And so, the reality is you don't, because if you cared enough, you would wait. And sometimes, I teach people techniques on that, what will help them to be able to just kind of be patient and to wait and be able to listen and not jump in to the ring. And it's a taught behavior too.
Right. We're going to talk about some of them techniques later. Mm-hmm. But Jeanni, why you counsel, couples, you counsel women, what is it if you're seeing someone who is, afraid to listen or not able or not patient enough to wait? What do you think? What is your little therapist spidey sense is telling you about what that person or that woman has experienced that's making her unable to hear in these moments?
I think there's so many contributing factors to there being difficulty in taking the time to, one, give your partner the space to air whatever it is that they're looking to share, encouraging vulnerability for them, and then taking that in the moment. And they could be anything from, my partner's telling hard truths that I don't know, I don't have a container for, I don't have the space to hold them in those containers. And that could be a container that is they're verbalizing conflict, or they're verbalizing their own fears. And when they verbalize their fears, it makes me fearful. And when they verbalize their grievances, it makes me feel defensive. When they verbalize that there's something missing in the relationship, it makes me feel inadequate. And there's so many reasons that people's minds check out and their hearts check out whenever their partners may be speaking and they're unable to listen, but what they are able to do is verbalize their own grievances. What they are able to, in their effort to contribute, right, to the relationship, is they can offer their grievances. They can offer their own vulnerabilities at times. They can offer their own, thoughts and perspectives on what's going on in the relationship. But sometimes they're just not able to hold what their partner is giving. And I mean, if we talk about the other contributing factors to that, they could be, they have experienced trauma. So if a conversation is packaged in a certain way, like it's packaged in high volume, it's packaged in aggression, it's packaged in passive aggressive language that isn't direct and straight to the point, they're kind of like dismissing it, or they're running away from it, or they're just completely shutting down. Just depends on what the history looks like. So, there are many answers to that question. It's a very loaded question.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, I'm throwing these out there. We deal with a lot, right? In our practices, we deal with a lot. A lot of different reasons come at us. And like Felice said earlier, like if you really cared and so on and so forth. And I want to say, like, I'm speaking from the perspective of two people who are in a relationship or in partnership and actually want to be in partnership. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you got one partner that don't, I mean, probably all have seen it. You got one partner that don't really want to be there. You know what I mean? So I'm not even talking to that type of couple. I'm talking about two people. And you know what? And going to the other scenario, the person somebody doesn't want to be there. Let's talk about, I mean, we can talk about it at some point, like how you should leave. You should do what feels good for you. I mean, if you're not with the person that you desire, and you really feel like, and you have to be honest with yourself, if you really feel like you are not the source of the problem, you know what I mean, which is kind of rare sometimes. Usually you can find some accountability on both sides of the street. You know what I mean? So I'm almost nervous of what I'm saying. Somebody probably said, "It ain't me." Yeah, you right. I should leave. You know what I mean? But slow down, okay? I'll get back to that later. Okay. I want to show.
Oh, no, I was just saying. Okay, yeah, you make sure we'll check. We'll just put a check mark by it. So
yeah, check mark by that, man. Because, like I said, man, I really want us to have a conversation about couples who are, just can't. You sitting in conflict with your partner. Y'all not listening or hearing each other, and y'all leading with y'all wounds, and leading with your fear and your hurt, and you're not listening and understanding. And then you start talking about, the black woman ain't doing this, and the black man ain't doing that, and the white man doing it all.
Message.
Which is really what's happening to us all. The white man is doing it all. It's really we would get down to the nitty gritty of it and the history of it. That's really what it all is. It's the design plan to tear us apart, because if we was ever to stand together, we would be invincible. All right, I want to show a video, and I want to talk to Sekou on the other side of the video. So let me show this video.
Matt Barnes for a second. Now, recently on his All the Smoke podcast, he was discussing just the things that he's dealt with that have led to him not being the best partner to Ananta Sims. If you recall, she posted 8 women in January alone, Matt, and then she called out some of the women that she says he cheated on her with.
It's only like a 2-girl a month average.
A week.
It's not
a week, you mean? Because she said for January alone.
It was just for January.
Yeah, just for January.
Oh.
Well, here's what Matt Barnes had to say.
Growing up biracial, black dad, Italian mom, drugs, abuse, alcohol, violence, losing my mom at 27, so it'll be 18 years this November, and I haven't cried. Like, I'm starting to feel it now, you know, and I feel like I'm almost pouring from an empty cup. And, you know, through my actions, I literally just lost my family. I wasn't there emotionally. I wasn't empathetic. So my question is, like, how do you cry if you don't? I don't want to say I don't know how to cry, because I've cried before, but I haven't cried in probably 30 years.
And I wanted to play this because I thought I had the wife's reaction, but she basically said, you know, keep my name out your mouth. You know what I mean? We're trying to survive over here, and you know, your actions, you know, put us in this mess. And I guess I wanted to kind of understand from you ladies after I talked to Sekou, like where how much responsibility do you have to empathize with stuff like that if you're in it? You know what I mean? And for Dr. Sekou, I want to know, like, how many brothers do you come across that are so disconnected from their emotions that, you know, they just start sabotaging their own lives this way?
To be honest, I do come across a handful, but I would say, based on my practice, the men that come to me, it's a mixed bag. Either they're with their girlfriend or their spouse, their wife, and they're like, hey, you need to talk to somebody. So those are the gentlemen that are unaware. And then you have men that are like, hey, I've been thinking about therapy. I know I have stuff going on, and I just want to talk about it. And so that's the mixture of individuals that I do receive. And the ones that are aware tend to be more willing to just do the work. They really engulf themselves in learning to be a better person, a better partner, and a better man for their spouse. And the other individuals that I'm working with, that their wife or their girlfriend tells them, hey, you need to go talk to someone, they struggle with having this blind spot of not really realizing sometimes the role that they have played that contributes to the dysfunction in their relationship. But if they're coming, they're willing to really have a better insight, and they're willing to work on changing their behavior.
Yeah. And you know, I know that, I don't know if this is your experience, but my experience is usually men come into therapy because they're triggered by some type of loss or some seriously bad behavior that or something detrimental that happened into their lives. We're like, okay.
Mhm.
And most of them, I say about 90% of them are pushed into therapy by their women. That's
Mhm.
what I experience. I mean, you might experience something different, but that's what I've seen so far.
Mhm.
Does that happen to you, or you feel like your numbers different than that, or what?
For for me, it's a little different because it's the men that are about to lose it all, that are married. Hey, I got to talk to someone. So they're in that state of, oh, I need to save my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm working with them, they're pulling out all the stops. So they're doing everything that they need to do or trying to. But I think by that time, a lot of times their wife is emotionally and mentally checked out. So
Yeah.
you're playing a game that you're already down by 40, 50 points, and we're in the fourth quarter, right? And like I said, the other individuals that are coming, they truly want to work and figure out what's going on with me, because either someone told them something, or they just feel like therapy is big now. So I want to work on being a better man, a better person, because I have blind spots, as we all do. So that's what I tend to notice that's happening in my practice.
Right. So, ladies, obviously, by no means should you tolerate any nonsense in your life. Let's talk about this specific example. They have children together. They have, you know, he still has a responsibility to father her children and things like that. So how far does the empathy go? I mean, does she, you know, can she get past her hurt to kind of want him to heal so that he can be the best possible father for his children, or is it just throw everything out the window? Like, because I'm asking this question because a lot of times it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a nobody's really wrong all the way situation. Yes, he has responsibility and accountability for his actions, but if you listen to men, sometimes it's like the way that they come up almost put them in a position to be like really struggling and don't really know how to operate inside of partnership, right? And that's not to make excuses. This is what happens. And we all know the history of in this country about how black men have, the plan was to emasculate them as much as possible. And down the line, this is what we have. So I talk slow, I guess, because I'm like, man, I hate to sound like I'm making excuses for brothers, you know what I mean? But it's the truth. Like it really happens. So, and black women are usually what I'm hearing. They're saying, "Hey, we don't want to put on silk gloves to, massage y'all so y'all can, do us wrong and all these other things. And how long we got to wait for y'all to heal for us to, you know what I'm saying? So I guess speak from your perspective, listening to everything that I'm saying. Jeannie, you first.
Oh man. Okay.
Felice to go? Was Felice to go?
No, it's okay. Felice, can you take it first? That's
Okay,
really loaded. Yeah.
I caught a lot of things that you said. One of the things that I heard you say was, do you throw everything out the window? And first of all, I want to, it takes two to tango. First, as women, we have to really, really get good with our identity. Like Jeannie said, first, you got to know who you are and who you're becoming. You have to understand your value and your worth. And we got to stop dragging these men to the altar when we know they don't need to go. All right. Like stop dragging them. Stop manipulating them. Stop doing all these crazy games to get them to the altar. Because if he's not ready, he's not ready. And, I tell a lot of my clients, God wasn't at your wedding. Like, you ain't asked him about that dude before you went, and he ain't coming. And so, he wasn't there. And it's because we're dragging and we're making these men, and he wasn't the one. Because it looked like I did see their reality show for a little bit when I stayed up late one night, and she did the back and forth with him, and I'm not trying to get spiritual or nothing, but adultery is the one out that God does give you. Because once that trust is broken, you may never, ever get it back. And so it's not that we don't want to be empathetic. It's just that you cannot rebuild trust. And one of the things that I hear in my sessions is the man is like, well, how long is she going to have me in jail? Well, sir, who knows? You broke the trust. You know what I mean? It could be forever. She may never, ever trust you again. And I don't know why you would want to stay if you know deep in your heart you don't trust them. So for the trust alone, it doesn't even have to do with empathy. For the trust alone, if she doesn't have that trust, how can you really be a partner to that man if you don't trust him? And you are going to make both of your lives miserable because he can't come and go without you having to know where he was, how he got there, why he got there, all that. That's misery. And then I heard you say, do we wait for them to heal? Well, again, how can I put it? You want to be as healed as you possibly can get. I'm not saying you have to be 100 to be in a relationship. And I'm not saying that you got to dot every I and cross every T before you get to say I do. But you do want to have some sense of who you are, what your value is, and what you are worth. And if that person is not healed and whole and not ready to truly be in a mature relationship that takes trust, respect, right? Responsibility, accountability, all those things. If they're not ready for that, then you don't need to go say, I do. Like, put them in a compartment and just date them. And then, for however long, but don't say I do, because marriage to me is something sacred. And, people work so much harder at dating than they do marriage. And I don't know what that's about, but they'll pull out all the stops in the dating relationship, say I do, and you get divorced in 2 seconds in a flat. And so I just was like, it's in reverse. But I think we need to do as much healing as we can on the front end before we engage in these unhealthy. And one thing that I want our women to know is that we do have intuition. And if you don't have a sense of peace, and we know And when you know and you don't have peace, then you don't move forward. You say deuces. And you go your separate ways, and then you can avoid all of this.
Yeah, for sure. Sophia, I see your question, but I want to be sure of what you're asking. So, be clear so we can get it answered. And whoever else is out there, listen, we got 4 therapists on the panel and brilliant at what they do. If you have questions, I don't really get it. I don't get loaded like this every night. So y'all better throw them out there, get some of y'all questions answered and how y'all moving. And I want to say what you said about trust. I always explain it to brothers like this. I say, that woman was sleeping in her house peacefully and comfortably. And then, we had a home invasion. They tore everything up, peed on the bed, burnt the house down, and now she's outside. And you put the fire out. You didn't put up new walls, new doors, new windows, new locks, new security, but you wanted to go back in there and sleep. You gotta update your security. You gotta update your security if you want that woman to go back in that house and sleep soundly. And they usually connect when I tell them that, because you're right, Felice. They always asking, well, when is she gonna forgive me? When is she gonna move on? Did you change your security? Did you update your security? You know what I mean? Did you do all of these things? So Jeanni, are you ready to answer the question now?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh my God. And Felice,
Let's go.
Yeah, just so honest, and there is this, I think I want to agree that there is this responsibility that I think both partners have to understand what they're coming into the relationship with. So what they're holding. I think when we talk about, you asked about the empathy, to what level should the empathy essentially exist from women toward men when there is an understanding that a man is struggling with his past and struggling with his identity in the present time. And I think Felice was so great in clarifying that these are 2 separate considerations, right? You can have a high degree of empathy for someone. You can understand that I have my problems, I have my shortcomings. There are ways that my past and things I've been through are influencing me in the way that I behave. And that same thing exists for my partner. So I can empathize with what's going on for them. However, that is not to be conflated with the degree to which I should trust someone, not to be conflated with the degree to which I should maintain in a relationship with someone, not to be conflated with the degree to which I should enter into a relationship with someone who is struggling with those kinds of issues. I think that because there is such a lack of education surrounding what interdependence really looks like, right? What interdependent relationships look like and how healthy relationships function, especially in all communities. This is all communities. I'm not even going to highlight the Black community because I see white community, these things happen, Asian community, Latino community, everybody is dealing with similar things. And the issue is this. The core issue exists as I have not created and established and understood in my adult life the framework that I need in order to engage in relationships. So I want, bigger than to be someone's to have a husband or to have a wife or to have a boyfriend or to have a girlfriend. Bigger than that, I want to be someone's girlfriend. I want to be someone's wife. I want to be someone's mother, right? Those things exist as a framework for my values, as a framework for who I am and what I am. And I think, I can't speak to Matt Barnes in his situation. He's opened us up to his life in some ways, but when I'm hearing him speak to all of the trauma that he's experienced, all of these hardships and all of this pain that he is shouldering, that he has no clue how to navigate, how to release, how to navigate, how to tap into, how to identify, none of it. He understands to some degree the triggers, but he has no conception of his own self-awareness. He has no conception of the keys that he needs to start to unlock some of these layers that he needs to sift through to be well. And for him to sit inside of that, it's not a nice word, but inside of that ignorance, because that's what it is. It's a palpable ignorance that is creating behaviors that are harming himself and everyone else around him in a society that is very clear about the steps that are necessary to take in order to be well, in order to have access to those types of systems and people and community that could help him to tap in. My empathy is quite, in those moments, my empathy is quite high. However, is my tolerance to those behaviors, is my tolerance to his presence and his actions high? No, it's very low, because I can recognize that in his behaviors, in what's happening for him, he has no interest in tapping into what is available to him to progress. And I think if you're talking about what it looks like to get in a relationship with someone and how I can know whether this is what's right for me or not, when you watch them, what they tell you, what they talk about as far as their wish and ownership in the role of partner, in the role of husband, does it align? So if I want to be your husband, am I engaging in behaviors that are demonstrative of my readiness to do so? And if I am not, please do not take this man as your wedded husband. As Felice said, it simply is counterintuitive to what's best for you.
And Sophia, that somewhat answered your question, and I'm gonna add to it too, and Seiko, you can if you want. But how long are you supposed to wait for them to heal? What I'm hearing is not a second. You know what I mean? Not a second. It's when you're ready and when you're comfortable with what's going on. You shouldn't wait for them to heal, to constantly keep abandoning your boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I want to speak just a little bit more to that, Joe, as well. I mean, I think there's a big difference. I mean, I think there's this idea of like, what is healed, right? As like an end process. Like, I was unwell, then I healed. And this is not like a cut or a bruise, or a broken limb, right? Healing is a continuous journey. So to me, when we're talking about how long do I wait, I think it's important for us to follow, and Felice said this as well, that instinctive nature, that internal compass that says to you about a relationship, this is someone that I'm willing to sacrifice my time for, that I'm willing to, in my present state, sacrifice my comfort for in order to be in company with them as they continuously heal.
Yeah.
When do you go? How long do you wait? You stay. Are they showing you behaviors that are demonstrative of an attempt at healing? Yeah. If they are not, if they keep telling you, oh, last week I cheated on you. It was just so horrible, because I was thinking about my dead mom and I just really couldn't get over that. And I was, so hurt and harmed by that. And I went and I just, had to feel less pain by that. And so, I met someone who could entertain me in that way where maybe you weren't. And then the next week it's the same. And then the next week this was, what did they say? 8 times in a month or something? Wasn't it 8 in January? Or something?
In January, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, not that the number matters, but I'm just saying like, it's
matters.
Pretty demonstrative that he has no interest in, right? That he has no interest in changing his trajectory or in healing at all whatsoever. Like he has no investment, whether he feels an internal position to want to do something is not demonstrative of working towards wellness, right? I can want to be an NBA player, but I am a woman first and foremost, and I am 5'6". It's not gonna happen for me. I can want that for sure, but there's nothing that I can give that is demonstrative of me working towards that trajectory within my life. So, I think that's that's an answer.
Very important what you said. And when I say heal, I basically mean stop the bullshit.
Love it.
When do you get to a point? When does he get to a point when he stops the bullshit? And how long are you supposed to wait for that? And I say you don't wait for him to stop the bullshit. You basically, you stand on. You gotta take some accountability for the boundaries that you didn't stand on. You know what I mean? Like this happened to me. I feel this way, and I don't like the way that I feel. But I'm going to continue to sit in this position and not do anything, or have any consequence for your action. So listen. And if you are in a relationship that you don't want to get out of because you really truly believe in this person and you are in session or going, first of all, get some counseling. Second of all, once you're in counseling, then you got to say, look, there's consequences for your behavior. And if you don't change your behavior, I'm out of here. And that's what it is. We're here because I believe in you. I want to give you an opportunity, and this is what we're going to do. So if you are engaged in this relationship and he doesn't even start making moves towards healing or making moves towards, repairing the situation, just saying I'm gonna stop and that's it, then at that point it's on you still being it. So
Can I say one thing though, too? I mean, Sophia was asking too, how long should you wait? And I tell people to thine own self be true.
Yes.
If you really know that you will not be able to trust this individual and have a sound, healthy relationship with them, get out on the front end. Don't waste a whole lot of time. Get out the way. Get out his way. You get out the way too. And start all over again, because that trust is huge. And you secretly know you're just going through the motions and you're just settling for having somebody in your life, but it's really not good.
Yeah.
And if it's not good, why be there? And don't settle for having a warm body. Settle for your best life. And sometimes your best life is you checking out. And being true to yourself.
Yeah.
It's following
Yeah.
that in.
Sekou, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick. And I think a lot of people neglect looking at patterns. It takes 3 times to create a pattern. Someone does something once, maybe that's just I'm having a bad day. Something happens twice, whatever. Third time creates a pattern. And if you stop and you watch someone's behavior, you're engaged with them, you're living with them, you're dating them, pay attention to patterns because they're obvious and they're quite evident. Then also when it comes to making these tough decisions, because of course, when we become emotionally connected to somebody, it's a lot harder to get up and say, oh, I'm just going to cut this person off, I'm going to leave.
Yep.
But the important part is getting back to learning to trust yourself. And when it comes to making a tough or difficult decision, I usually tell my clients to rely on 3 different things. What does your head tell you? What does your heart and what does your gut tell you? Your gut is that primal instinct. I had a gut feeling that something was going to happen. I shouldn't have went there. That's when you start to learn to trust yourself. And then your heart is going to always tell you what you feel. I feel maybe this could work or maybe this and that, whatever it is, you have the feelings. The logical side of you will tell you, if you put it down on paper, head, heart, and gut, I don't think this person is really right for me because he did this or she did that. And this person has done this more than 3 times. And if you put it down on paper, you look at it, that's usually all you really need. You don't need to rely on these outside sources or my friend said this or whatever. You need to start trusting yourself, and then you need to be able to take some sort of action.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, yep. Following that instinct. I never tell people a time frame or what I've those types of questions to me. They speak to this idea that you can get it wrong and you can't get it wrong. Personally, everyone has their journey and everyone, I believe, has purpose. And I think relationships are a big revelation to some of those things. And many times when you are inside of an instinct to maintain with a person who's harming you, I always tell people, if you think about someone wronging you and you see it as if they're on the outside burning you, every time they're doing something, every time there's an infraction against the relationship, every time there's an infraction against your person, even if they're not hitting you, they're not harming you in those ways, just see it as I'm being marked on my face with a hot iron and it's showing up on my face. If you saw yourself after these many of the infractions that were created by this person, you truly looked at yourself and saw the damage that it was causing to you, would you be able to walk away? Like instinctually, would that propel you to do so? And if it does, if from the instinct you're ready to go, then you have everything you need. And whether you don't have money or you don't have a safe place or you don't have a safe space, all those things can be built if you follow the instinct.
Listen, y'all are giving some super introspective, y'all dropping gems right now. Okay. We're dropping gems right now. What we are talking about is so needed and needs to be heard. And because y'all are giving these super intelligent but super long answers, I sure hope y'all will commit to a part 2 of this thing, because we haven't even scratched the surface of the stuff that we need to talk about.
That's true.
Go back. Go back.
Yeah, we got to keep, because I don't want to cut anybody off, because what you're saying matters. Like, it really needs to be heard. You know what I mean? I think there's people lack understanding in this way, and they're just going through their relationships expecting the storybook situation or what they read to be true, and not realizing there's so many intricate perspectives. Like Jeannie said, you can't give a time frame. But here's what I do know: bottom line, baseline. If you don't feel good, you have to listen to your emotions.
Yes.
You have, like Sekou said, head, heart, gut. Like, you got to listen to what you feel, and you let your respond to your emotions. No emotion is meant to be pushed away, right? You feel a way, we got to address it. That's what healthy, but not in a way that's you don't need to be criticizing people, or what I'm saying, or showing contempt, trying to address it with sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that is not going to heal your relationship.
Yeah.
I guess the kitchen gonna clean itself. No,
Aggressive.
hey, no.
Yeah.
You want me to clean the kitchen? You can just say that.
Right.
Is it frustrated? Are you frustrated that the kitchen ain't clean? Because if you are, I understand a feeling. You put frustrated, sad, or you put that behind that, then okay. And can I tell you that how I feel, and the things that I'm struggling with, that I can't open up myself up to you? We got to talk.
Yeah. As you clean the kitchen, you can do it.
As I clean the kitchen, we can come sit in here. I'll clean this kitchen. I got to tell you some stuff. Okay. So, like I said, we need a part 2, but I guess I want to get to some stuff. I want to talk about, kind of the core of what we're talking about. Well, let me ask Dr. Let me get y'all to answer Dr. Vibe's question real quickly. How can Black men and women be better friends? Because I believe that friendship should come before relationship. So, in answering that question, I'm gonna let y'all kind of quickly round robin that situation. Start with you, Felice, and then Sekou, and then Jeannie.
Well, first know that we're not in competition with one another. I need Black men and Black women to stop coming to the space competing, one-upping each other, having to read the resume. I got this, I did that. Just be, breathe, and be. And enjoy, like, come to really enjoy and get to know that person with no agenda. Women, they're good looking, they're fine, and oh my gosh, finally you're meeting a brother with a good dialogue and conversation. Do not see yourself down the aisle. Just be, enjoy their company, enjoy the dialogue, and be. And relax, and I think that's the first stage. Like, and not wanting, don't intertwine lust. Men don't see us in the bedroom, or just be like, let's just be, and that way we can start off with a clean slate. Just getting to really enjoy another human being.
Not in competition with each other. Learn to just be. Okay. Sekou, what do you say, brother?
Number one, I think you should set your intentions. If you want to really get to know someone, really work on being their friend. Because a lot of times, of course, there's a lot of attractive men, women, there's all these things that happen. But oftentimes where things go wrong is because folks are too busy trying to get in the bed instead of trying to get into the head. Yep. And really get to understand a person. And I think it's really imperative to know more about that person. How did they grow up? What are some of their things? Where do we really align on things? What are some of their future goals? Really having deep conversations and figuring out what's really truly important to you as a person, as a man or a woman. That's just it. And then also when it comes to friendship, do things besides just going out to eat. Just start trying to do new things. Have different experiences, like volunteering. Just go out on a date and say, hey, let's go volunteer. because that's going to show you something about a person. Are they thinking about other people? Is that important to them? So just finding ways to be more creative and just being very intentional about, I want to get to know you. I really want to be your friend. And if things are cool, who knows where this relationship can go.
Stop. And I guess Felice kind of said this too. Stop leading with your private parts, y'all.
Okay.
Stop leading with your private parts. Chill out. You know what I mean? And get a brother. Listen to some stuff. If you hold that thing from him, he'll listen. You know what I mean? I just tell you the truth. You hold that thing, you listen to whatever you got to say, and then eventually you'll really be interested. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I think, as Dr. Sekou said, it's important to set your intentions from the beginning. And honestly, it's to set boundaries from the beginning. If we are to engage, and this is a great question, because I think it is very difficult at times for men and women to be in relationship with one another. I myself personally, struggle with a more conservative understanding of relationships, and that, in my adult life, it can be very difficult to have males in my life who are not professionally bound to me, because values don't necessarily align in the things that are really core related to friendships at times. So I think that's important. Understanding the values of the person, recognizing that, if we are to engage in a friendship and that's what this is meant to be, it needs to be clear, and the lines need to be very clear, and the respect needs to be there. So, when I'm saying to you, I don't take phone calls from men after 7 p.m. who are not my man. You're not calling me after 7 p.m. because it's inappropriate, and you should not be calling or texting me at that time frame. You're not taking it personal because you recognize, oh, I'm a friend, and friends respect the boundaries of their friends. And the same as me. I'm not calling someone's home, to get a hold of them at some indecent hour, or, looking to have access to them that is inappropriate based on the relationship. So I think it's good boundaries. It's being intentional and being clear about those intentions. It's respect, showing deep, deep, deep respect for a person and their understanding of the friendship and what it means, and then understanding each other's values. I think many people break down and can't maintain friendships because honestly, they don't even understand their own values, and they don't even understand what they want and what the framework of friendship even looks like. What is it to be a friend to someone? To be a friend to someone is to create a community around that person. To be a friend to someone is to be there to support when there is a need and when there is not a need. To be a friend is to be able to anticipate what someone wants, what someone craves, to be able to show up platonically in moments where they may be very vulnerable, talking about all different types of subjects. There are very taboo subjects. So what are we saying? Men and women can't ever talk about sex? Men and women can't talk about, who are friends, can't talk about what's going on in their lives? Okay, is that a real friendship? Is that a true friendship? Right. It's important to understand these things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about understanding yourself. That was an important part. But question about the boundaries: is it okay do you have an obligation to explain your boundary, and is it okay to ask why? If somebody's boundary,
I think it's always okay to be inquisitive about someone's boundaries, but inquisitive to the point of looking to understand, not to the point of looking to dismantle the boundary. Many people have a vested interest, and that inquisitive nature is not for the sake of, I want to understand, know about you, show care for you, and enable you to be protective. The inquisitive nature of the questioning is for the sake of trying to dismantle the boundary and trying to see if I can push a little bit further and a little bit harder and see what I can get.
So all you hard of hearing people out there, you gotta have good intentions. Mm-hmm. And for the other side of it, you got to get past your defensiveness if somebody asks you why you are the way you are, because somebody with good intentions really just wants to know. And what I did learn from the three of you guys just answering those questions is none of you understand the concept of short answers.
I think I did pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, it's very necessary. Y'all we're gonna need a part 3 at this rate. The way y'all but it's okay. I'm in love with everything that y'all are saying. It's very important. I actually usually when people give long answers, I'm doing other things to try to get ready, but I'm actually engaged with what y'all talking about because it's important. And I agree with all of it. You know what I mean? Like I agree with the way that you guys are processing relationships because it's important. So yeah, I want to ask y'all a couple more questions and we'll get out of here. And then we'll come back for a part 2 in like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so.
Cool.
If y'all are down with that. So what what tools or like what practice, do you think helps people like grow the most in relationships? I have an idea. If I know I wouldn't ask questions I couldn't answer, or at least try to answer, but
Yeah.
let's do that. Let's start with Sekou. Sekou, what tools can help people grow in relationships?
I think it's good to definitely set aside time to really talk, get to know each other, play games. There's these different relationship games where they ask different questions and be curious about understanding that person and your partner. So I think that's important. Communication is always important. I'm really big on understanding communication styles. A lot of people don't even know their communication style, whether it's assertive, passive, aggressive. I just want to know, why are you like that? Because I care. I want to know you, being very intentional. So I think just always being curious about your partner and doing these things to get to know them. Different situations reveal a lot about people and various experiences. So that's pretty much my answer for that one.
All right, good. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you, man. Landed that plane nicely.
All right.
Felice, you like to circle the skies, but let's go.
So know why you want something, right? We all say and think we want something, and then we get in and we're like, so know and answer that question for yourself. Why do you think that at this time you want this? And then boundaries are huge. I think people just don't really know what boundaries are. They believe it's a curse. So it's not. They're blessings in disguise, and they really do help set the stage for healthy relationships. And then communication is huge. Really learning how to communicate and using emotional words, right? Words instead of just facts, but let the person know how that thing is helping you to feel. And then practicing vulnerability. I think that is key in helping people to have really good relationships.
I have to break that down a little bit. You know what I mean? Now, one time I needed expounded on.
You told me.
I know I told you, man, but you said some stuff right there, man.
No.
And you know you did. Communication, that speaks for communication, and boundaries will change everything for you. Okay? It will change everything for you. What did you say before vulnerability?
I said practicing vulnerability.
What did you say before that, though?
Communication.
Okay. You said communication, vulnerability, boundaries,
and know why you want this.
Yeah. Vulnerability, man, we look at that as some type of weakness. But if you have again, going back to the security, if you have a vulnerability in your security system and I know where it is, then I can strengthen that vulnerability by you revealing it to me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So by you revealing your vulnerabilities, you strengthen yourself, right? You strengthen yourself. And I don't want to spend a whole lot, but I do want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but we got
Can
limited
I say one
time.
thing, Joe?
Yes.
Vulnerability also disarms people.
Yes.
So when you come pure and no agenda and free to just be, not worried about how you're perceived, if you smell good, if your eyelashes are, staying intact, just be you and be able to share because vulnerability also means presence.
Yes.
That you're really present with that person and getting to experience what they're like and being able to sit in that and lean into it and be able to share what that experience is like for you with that individual. What do? You disarm them. And you also give that person, that potential partner, the freedom to know that you've created a safe space for them to do the same. And so vulnerability really is a secret power. It doesn't take much to put up a wall. Anybody can do that. But it really takes strength and inner security, right? And confidence to just let it all hang out and be.
Yes, and not be ashamed of it.
No.
I hope y'all are listening. I hope y'all are gathering your questions for the part 2 and 3 and 4 of this series, because we talking tonight. You know, I don't want them to be faster because they keep saying things that are important, but I'm doing it for the sake of time. But man, this stuff is so critical, y'all. We really have to take this in and strengthen our relationships. We are in a state of emergency, especially in the Black community. We are turning on each other for no reason. I cannot operate in my full capacity as a Black man without the Black woman, and vice versa. The Black woman cannot operate in her full capacity without the Black man, whether you're in relationship or not.
Yes.
Whether you're in relationship or not, we cannot do this without each other. So attacking each other is making us weaker. It's making us weaker. So empathy needs to be on the rise. Understanding, perspectives, vulnerability need to be on the rise. Jeannie.
Yes.
Tools.
My goodness. Sure. You all put these things so eloquently. I think, as far as tools are concerned, I'll start where we began, which is active listening. Active listening, I think, is such a great tool for connecting in relationships. And reflective listening, just so we tell our listeners, is about your partner says something and you let them know, reflect back in your own words that you have heard them. And they can determine, has they heard me or haven't they heard me? So they can be corrective in that moment. And it's a safe space to be corrective. I think another really important thing with clients that I teach is just a heart to heart. And it's speaking on that vulnerability that Felice was talking about, and Dr. Seiko as well. This idea of like, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to tell you what is true for me, what I'm actually experiencing, how I'm actually engaging. And I'm not going to tell it in passive aggressive language and passive aggressive speech. It's going to be direct. It's going to be what's going on. And then I'm going to let you palate it. I think the pause is a huge tool in relationships. So many couples struggle with enduring the silence and enduring a conversation taking a little bit of beat. Sometimes you need the beat, people. Sometimes you have to tolerate discomfort, and it's important because it allows for you to get your emotions in check, to identify them first off, get them in check, and then come to the floor with something that is solution-based, that is going to attack the problem instead of attacking your partner. The other thing is, I really believe that giving grace is a huge tool. It's really underrated. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say the wrong things. Sometimes I'm going to get a little bit, snappy with my tongue. I'm going to be grumpy when I just wake up. This is going to happen with your partner. If you cannot offer grace, which is just providing love and care, just for unexplained reasons, not when someone is in their perfect space and they're showing up the way you want, just because you love them and just because their humanity should demand and deserves grace. Very important.
100%. And just to be clarify for y'all, she said pause, P-A-U-S-E, not pause. Put your hands to yourself.
Yeah, no pause.
Take a beat. Not do beating, okay? Keep your hands to yourself. I gotta clarify because some people look. She said put the pause on you. No, not what she said. All right, listen. I'm gonna get y'all out of here if y'all don't mind. Can I just play one video for y'all, get y'all reaction, and get y'all takeaways, and we get out of here? We good?
Yeah.
Okay. I know Felice was sleeping. I'll get you out of here, Felice.
You want me to provide safety for you, but you cannot reciprocate it for me. I deserve to feel safe too. A number of Black men internally, their internal world is not safe. And yet you want me to provide you with safety that I don't even know for myself. When I say to you that you've harmed me, you give me this rigmarole, that's not safe. When I tell you I'm tired, you get so wrapped up in your responses that you don't even give me the space to be fucking tired. That's not safe. I say to you that I don't feel connected to you. I say to you that you are not meeting my emotional needs. I say to you that I do not feel the way that you talk to me is uplifting, and you continue to do it. That's not safe. But yet you want me to continue to go out in this world and come back and do all of this stuff. You don't want me. You want your idea of me. And if I don't fit that idea, you begin rejecting me. That's not safe.
Thank you.
I just want to get y'all a quick reaction to that, and then we'll get up out of here and get your takeaways for tonight. But Felice, what's your reaction to that?
I don't know. I need more context. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't buy it. Some of the things that he said, I needed more context from it. And
That's interesting.
yeah, I think the music helped, possibly draw people in.
It spoke to me.
I try to be real. I really do. Like, I don't know. I didn't.
I get it. No, we can talk more about it, but I chose that clip because it spoke to me directly. It spoke to a lot of the things that I hear from brothers about how they can't really expose themselves in relationships because they don't feel safe. I hear that a lot from black men. What he just said is very common. Say cool.
Can I just say one thing real quick though? Because if you gotta, it sounds like he's experienced some trauma, right? And so whoever's sitting across from him, I don't know what environment was created for him to say those things. And so I also want to be cognizant that there's another person on the side of that possibly has some real reasonable things as to why things may have transpired. So, I need some grace.
Yes, I want you to know like this. If I'm telling you that a majority of black men feel the way that man feels, just take that for what it is. I can confirm that a majority of black men feel that way. And I want you to think about it before we come back to you. What do you say to that?
Okay.
Yes, say cool.
Okay. Number one, I heard pain. I heard a lot of pain in that man's voice and him wanting to be heard in a real way, not just a surface way of going back and forth, but really wanting to be heard, understood, and some level of accountability where that partner would recognize and say, hey, I'm sorry. That's first thing that came to mind.
Jeanni, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, that really hit me very hard. I think the first thing that came to mind for me was a man who was demonstrating vulnerability and saying, I am trying to use my words and I'm trying to be clear that there are moments that exist between the two of us, whoever that the two of us is, where I say to you, I can't hold all of this. I simply can't hold all of this. The external world that I'm in and the internal world that I'm experiencing, both of them at this point in time are too much for me to hold. And I'm looking to you to just give me some level of understanding that you can hear that you can feel me in that. And I'm not getting that from you. And I don't feel emotionally safe or secure because instead of you saying, I hear you and I can feel you and I understand what's happening for you, and I'm sorry that's happening for you, you are dismissing me. You are, you are saying, pick it up, suck it up, and I've got my pain, and my pain is bigger than yours. And that is what we're talking about here when we talk about why men and women have a hard time sometimes getting along. It's this idea of like, sometimes there's a hierarchy of emotional pain. Emotional pain, and the threshold for emotional pain is very high for women in some ways, very high. And it's understood to be high, right? And it's understood and accepted to be high, where to some degree, I think that the threshold for men is lower because there is so much other things externally that they are dealing with, to the extent that they in some ways shove all that stuff down, and they haven't been used to or accustomed to dealing it and letting it float to the surface. So they need to increase their threshold. But to do that, right, we have to take on more. We have to identify more. We have to understand more. And it's difficult to do that when you're looking at your partner and you're saying, I'm full, like I'm at capacity. And they're like, well, I'm so much more at capacity than you are. Like, suck it up.
Yeah. I look at that and I say these men they're crying in the dark, They're like going in the closet and they're crying. I know so many brothers. When I heard that, I probably had 3 brothers that week. I had a brother that, just a real street dude come to me and say, man, I'm weary. I was, wow, because of everything that I'm carrying, I ain't got nowhere to go. I ain't got nowhere to go, and no one is listening to me.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to that and I say, man, yeah, brother, I've been there, and I don't know hardly any black man that hasn't been there. So when I put that out there, because I know the common response that I get when we say that, if from conversations with black women, are me too. So now when we at a standstill, right? So we like, damn, you hurting, I'm hurting. We not listening to each other. You got things that you're struggling with. I got things that I'm struggling with. How do we get together and be able to lift each other up in these moments? You know what I mean? This is kind of what I'm talking about when we're having this conversation. I was having Felice, you was there. I was having a real hard day one day, and I was trying to say some stuff on one of these shows, and my feelings got completely dismissed. And the response was, just suck it up. Like, your feelings don't even matter. Now, that might seem like a little thing.
It's not.
I'm a crybaby, and I might say a little thing, but I felt so dismissed. It just triggered all types of pain that I had been going through in that moment. I had shut down for a day after that. It
Wow.
really triggered me. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like your feelings don't matter. But I also, as a therapist, want to know what you're feeling as a woman, not as a therapist, but as a husband, as a man. I want to know, okay, so how can I get to you what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and still let you feel seen and heard in the moment? That's what we might have to tackle in part 2. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to really be able to hear each other so that we can lift each other up and not attack each other.
Definitely.
Felice, you processed it now. What you thinking now?
I'm thinking, thank you for, some other input. Like, and so I'm extremely, transparent and honest. Like, I just got your pain, right? I got your pain more than I did that TikTok thing, right? So, and I'm just keeping it real because I have more context and understanding, and I really can see and feel the pain. And so y'all give me some grace, because I don't do TikTok. I know they be editing stuff. Like, I was like, okay, and the music came in. I was like, all right. So like, I'm so serious. But I felt, so Joe, I felt you.
Okay.
I really did. And thank you for giving me that context. And because I really do think that we as women, we need to know that, we need to hear it, but we also have to have a space that is conducive for us to be able to receive and hear you properly. And so a lot of times the space and the atmosphere and whatever outside things and forces really prevent us from being able to do that. And so thank you for that, really.
You're welcome, sis. Very welcome. It's very important to have these conversations. So listen, I appreciate y'all. We're gonna get y'all takeaways from tonight, and I want you to promote your practices, and we'll get out of here. I really appreciate y'all. So Jeanni, go ahead and give us your takeaways and promote your stuff, please.
Oh, sure. Well, I think takeaways from the night are just, let us be mindful about our listening practices, about showing vulnerability with one another, taking the time out to connect is important. And where relationships are deteriorating and you're confused about whether you should stick around or not necessarily stick around, listen to that instinct that you've been hearing for some time. There's a reason that the question is even popping into your head and heart, isn't there? So, do you want me to tell you about my practice too, or
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Jeanni Johnson, and I'm the CEO and founder for Love and Psych. It's a private practice. You can work with me. Follow the link in my bio on Instagram. It's at For Love and Psych, or hit up my website www.forloveandpsych.com.
Thank you, sis. Felice, takeaways and promote yourself, please.
So my takeaway is that, you know, this bridge that we've got to build, it's going to take a lot of work, but I'm so encouraged that we're tackling it and we're doing it together, and that the grace is being provided, even with us on the stage. You know, we're still humans too, and with histories, and the fact that we're here and that we're tackling this together is so encouraging. And I hope y'all know that, and y'all come back and let us do this together again. I am Felice, the Be Big Coach. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I also have a private practice, Resiliency Therapeutic Services. And so I would love to connect with anybody who wants help getting to the other side and the progress of healing. The process to healing.
Thank you, my good sis. Dr. Sekou, my brother.
All right. Number one, of course, always thank you for allowing me to step out and be on the show. And some of my takeaways, the number one thing that sticks out in the forefront of my mind is that we all want to date, we all want to have somebody, but we need to take time to be intentional, to spend time with ourselves, to know ourselves. So oftentimes we see people jumping from one relationship to the next relationship to the next relationship. We don't give ourselves enough time to heal, enough time to process, and enough time to really know, what do I want in this season of my life? So that's the biggest takeaway. A lot of things: patience, grace, understanding, and be curious and understand that we all come from different walks of life. And somehow we're going to intersect. Let's make sure we land somewhere in the middle and we can share the same reality at some point in time. My practice name is at the bottom, Stage Therapy Group. I work with pretty much couples, individuals, the whole nine. Instagram, Dr. Sekou Fraser. Also on TikTok, Dr. Sekou Fraser. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Joe, can we hear our states? Sorry, I just want to make sure people know that I'm in New York and Minnesota.
Yeah, for
I'm in
sure.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right.
DC and Texas.
I didn't know you was in DC, bro. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I got a lot of East Coast. If you're on the East Coast, you're taken care of over there. Yeah, y'all got the East Coast locked up.
I'm working on it.
I'm just in Dallas, but I'm working on Minnesota. But it should be a done deal by the end of the month. But listen, I just want to tell people, man, there's a way to communicate with each other that involves a deeper connection and eliminates a lot of the negativity and the frustration that goes into the conversations that you're having. We are throwing away some really good relationships just because we don't know how to talk to each other, things that actually could have worked. Some people are meant to be together, and like Felice said, you should know that from the gate and deal with that. But let's not throw away the good relationships. Let's not avoid the good relationships just because we don't know how to speak to one another. That can be actually learned. You can actually learn, and a lot of it, it has to do with you get into a space where you are understanding yourself in a lot of ways, and you are open to the fact of learning who you actually are, and your own perspective. Sometimes in couples therapy, you go in there thinking that you're gonna correct your partner, and you're giving perspective about stuff, and you're talking, and you learn something about yourself through your own words that you didn't even know, right?
Amazing.
I don't know why that sets me off. I don't know why that triggers me. I don't know why I get mad when you do that thing. Well, it turns out, my father did that and it triggered me, or my mother did this and it triggered. So yeah, now you understand that. So now you and your partner both know not to walk on those landmines unless I'm intentionally trying to hurt you. I know where they are now. So if I step on them, I'm trying to hurt you. And that's another story and a different problem. So listen, I want y'all to join me and Felice on the 28th. What is it? The 23rd and the 30th of this month. We're going to be having sacred conversations. You see the URL right there. Go there, look at what we're doing. You get our little bios and understand about what we're doing. But what we're talking about is we're having conversations that help you in the way that I'm speaking about right now. Help you improve your communication, help you grow your connection, reduce your negativity, and mutual understand. You can come if you are in a couple. You can come if you're single, but the price is going to be the same. Okay. Okay. And it's not expensive. It's $97. Y'all come join us. It's it's for both days. So both, I think Thursdays we're doing it, Felice.
The 23rd is I thought it was Wednesday.
Wednesday. It could be Wednesday. Go give me the line. 23rd. Those days are right. I don't know what days of the week they are, but those days are right. I want y'all to really tap in, man. We are going to be doing and talking about some things in there and showing you how to communicate with each other and giving you a gang of tools that you can that I use in my practice, that Felice uses in her practice, that couples walk out of the room communicating with each other better. Okay. So I want y'all to tune into that. And that's all I got for y'all tonight. Listen, I appreciate especially all the people that came from the show this morning. I see a lot of people in the comments that was here this morning, and you heeded my request to come join me tonight. I really appreciate that. Next Tuesday, we're gonna be talking about I think maybe some suicide in the Black male community. But yeah, at least y'all saw it live. All these people committed to coming back. So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna try to get them to do it once a month. I'm gonna try to talk them into doing it once a month. We gotta do it once a month because this space, I think we did some real good work here tonight. And I really want to keep it up because it's really not about we promote ourselves at the end, but I know all these people who genuinely just want to help people. And that's what we're here to do. So it's free game, y'all. They pay us a lot of money to give out the stuff we give out tonight. It's not cheap. All right, it's not cheap, and y'all got it for free. So we're gonna work that out. I'm gonna get with each one of them and work them individually and then tell them how we're gonna get back and do this once a month. But until then, y'all have a good night. I love y'all very much, and see y'all next time.
Peace.
Bye, Jeff.
All right.